Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of More to the Story. Thank y'all for tapping back in for another episode with me, guys. I'm sorry I missed last week. I was sick. I don't know exactly what I had, but I felt extremely terrible. I felt terrible. Couldn't get out of bed for a couple of days. Had the chills, all that crazy stuff. I was sick. I could not record. I was down, man. I did put out a reel and a TikTok though for y'all, just to put out some form of content for that week. But I'm back, better than ever, and I got my guy with me, man. He was supposed to be on the pod for my very first NBA episode, but the audio on that pod was terrible, so we couldn't use it. But I got a great friend of mine, my Crody, Brett, mother effing James, man. Welcome to the pod, brother. Say what's up.
Hey, what's up, man? Appreciate you getting me back on to the pod again. It sucks that the first one couldn't go the way that we had planned it to, but I know this is going to be a good episode, man. We got the NBA Finals been posted up with your work, man. I'm really proud of all the work that you're doing, and I know this is just the beginning of something special.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, man. I really appreciate that coming from you. This guy has accomplished a lot, y'all. I'm gonna go over the resume real quick. Man. Just to let y'all know who I got on the
Hall of
pod
Fame
for y'all.
Glazer, Hall of Fame Glazer.
But my guy just worked for the Magic last season, Orlando Magic HQ reporter, wrote for the Magic, was in the interviews asking the coach questions, players questions, worked for FanSided. What else did you do, bro? You did too much this year. I can't keep up.
Yeah, it's been a lot, man. Just from managing the social media team with HQ, from writing for FanSided, and just being there in person in the trenches. Writing with the athletes, interviewing, getting quotes for coaches and different information for multimedia content. It's a lot of work, man. But obviously, I'm very obsessed with the work in sports media and the way that it's continuing to trend. And I just know that this work that I've been doing this year is ultimately going to pay off into something greater.
Absolutely, man. I'm proud as hell of you, bro. I gotta go over the story, man. I have to. I did it on the first pod, never made the pod. But I met Brett at UCF. We were both in college together. It was both our junior years, right? We both graduated with
Yep,
our
junior
AA.
year.
So yeah, junior year of college, we're both at UCF in Professor Brunson's class in the big auditorium. It was an intro. It was intro to something with our fellow friend Danielle, who is right now
Mhm.
interning at ESPN, doing her freaking thing.
She's
Can't,
killing it.
yeah, man, she's absolutely killing it. But I met Brett in there, was with him a couple weeks in class, talked to him and stuff, and he asked me one day, he's like, "Bro, you want to go to a Hawks game?" I was like, hell yeah, man. Trey Young in town, Deontay Murray.
Yeah.
This is the old Hawks. This is like 2023,
It's
2022.
2022. It's
Yeah,
2022.
2022. So yeah, this is Deontay Murray, Trey Young, box office. So we go to the game. We're at the game, man. We're chopping it up. We only really talk in class and we study
Yeah.
on campus. So we didn't really like ever hang out and like really get to pick each other's brains. So we're just picking each other's brain watching the game. And I'm a very upfront, I'm a very blunt person. I asked bro straight up. I said, bro, he's telling me all the things he was doing before he came to UCF. Intern for the hockey team, right? Solar Bears
Yeah, the
or
Jacksonville Iceman.
Jacksonville Icemen, Jags. Just Jags content creator, huge YouTube Jags guy right here. Like, guys, this guy has a resume. I literally said, I asked him, sir, I said, bro, why are you in school? Like, what are you doing? I'm here for a reason. Like, I'm grinding. I have no resume. I haven't done anything yet. This guy had accomplished more than anybody in our class, most likely. And I just posed a question. So I said, bro, why are you in school? Like, what is your why for that you're in UCF right now? And he had no answer for me, bro. He basically like, shit, man, I don't know why I'm in school either. He had all the tools. I can just tell by how. So it's an auditorium class, 80 plus people, 8,200 people. This man, when he would raise his hand to ask questions, they're the most thought out questions. I'm like, bro, this guy has to be a reporter some way. Like, there's just no way. Like, why is this guy in this class right now, bro? This guy's too advanced. I used to be sitting there like, bro, like, what the fuck is he doing here? Like, so when I finally asked you the question, you gave me the answer, and I basically chopped it up with you right there and there. Like, you were like, yeah, I'm really just doing this for my family, man. My family wants to see me graduate.
Yeah.
They're really really rooting hard for me. I moved from Jacksonville to come down here to Central Florida. So that's really, and I basically told them that's not a good enough why. You have to
Yeah.
do it for you. Do you want to be in school? What do you want to do? And it's been history from there, man. This guy's been
Y-
He's been tapped in, man. Talk to us real quick.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, even going back now 3 years to 2022, like hell, I don't even remember asking the question. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that you even
Right.
remember all that is crazy. Like, cause like I was in there just doing my work. I think I was just in there just to get a grade and just pass my courses and just move on. I wasn't really in there to genuinely try to learn or to gain knowledge because I had already had so much other previous experience, like he mentioned from my internships with the ECHL and the Jacksonville Icemen. I was doing freelance work with USF, UCF, and UNF covering their college athletics. And then obviously big Jags YouTuber. So I had already had so much previous experience. I was already like a go-getter. So I was really just doing college just for the hell of it, right? Like I wasn't really there to really care about the degree. Initially I was, but it was just like I'm doing it for my family just to say that I did it, right? And about halfway through that semester, I was like, damn, maybe this college isn't for me. Like, I don't know, man, because I'm like sitting here doing all the work and I'm like, this just isn't me. I know I need to be out in the field, like going to get it because I have so much experience and knowledge. And then, me and Jay get to talking. We chopped it up at the Hawks game and he told me straight up, he's like, bro, he's like, if I was you, he's like, I wouldn't be in college either, man. He's like, look at what you're doing. And basically that was like my green light that kind of confirmed to me what I'd already been thinking for months that like, yeah, I need to drop out. So a couple months later, I drop out. It was a tough decision. And then, 3, 4 months later, I get that opportunity with Orlando Magic HQ. And, the rest is history, man. So crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. Like to see where you're at now, man. Like I remember we were studying for Brunson's final, and
Yeah.
like we were together for like an hour. We probably did 5 minutes of studying. The rest we were just
Yeah.
talking about island things. We were just
Yeah, of
talking about
course.
everything
Always.
else but this class because you already had made your decision by then.
I
Like
had
I
already,
won't be
I had
here.
mentally checked
Yeah,
out. Yeah. So I didn't care
I
if I passed that exam or not.
I can tell you were mentally checked out. I was mentally checked out as well. But I'm so glad to see where you are right now, man. See where everything's headed for you. We don't know what's coming up this summer yet. We will see. We're looking out
We'll
for
see.
Brett. But let's get into these NBA playoffs, man. It's been a great playoffs, best playoffs in my opinion since 2019, the Kawhi year. What do you think about this playoffs, man? How has it been to you?
Man, it's been a great playoff so far. I mean, I got to say, like, I think every series for the most part has been extremely competitive, maybe outside of OKC and Memphis. Obviously, if Ja doesn't get hurt, maybe it's a different story. But I think top to bottom, I think this has been a great postseason so far. A lot of physicality, a lot of headlines. And you love to see two underdogs and two small market teams in the Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana Pacers making it out of their respective conferences. I'm somebody who's always going to pull for the small market, and I like the fact that they've done it organically, right? Developed their team from within, didn't really go out there and make a huge, trade to, acquire a superstar. They really did everything from the ground up, and those teams have paid their dues. Indiana's paid their dues over the years. Oklahoma City has most definitely paid their dues, and it's been a great postseason so far. Nothing but respect.
Yeah, man, I agree. There's been so many great series in this 2025 playoffs. We had Knicks Pistons first round,
Hmm.
Clippers Nuggets. Like we got a lot of good basketball in these playoffs. A lot of high intense defense. It's really a whole nother product from the regular season. Like this defense that we're seeing right now, whole different NBA. This is just not the same basketball, and I love it. I'm not complaining at all. I know there's a lot of fans who want the game to be more consistent in the way that it's called, but I don't mind it, man. The games have been interesting. And like Brett said, we have two small market teams, two teams that's never won
Hmm.
championship. I don't count Seattle SuperSonics. That this is the OKC Thunder. They've never won. Indiana Pacers have never won. Very successful franchise. They've never been able to do it. Two very small market teams. And the casuals are gonna hate on this series. The casuals are not gonna like it because it's not a New York or it's not a LA or it's not a
Right.
Boston. But I love what we got. I mean, we got the best offensive team versus the best defensive team, two of the best teams since the beginning of the year, best record overall wise. I think that the NBA got it right with this one, man. I'm glad that we have what we have now. Like Brett said as well, organically made teams. They didn't bait for trades. They didn't try to hunt certain guys. They built it from the ground up. And this is the Paul George finals. I
This
mean,
is
Paul
this is the
George,
Paul George. Yep.
this is the Paul George finals, man. I mean, OKC makes the one of the greatest trades that it's ended up being one of the greatest trades of all time
Hmm.
for OKC, of course. OKC gets 5, 6 first round picks and SGA and what was that, 2020? 5 years later, they're in the finals because
Yeah.
of that trade. Indiana Pacers trade DeMontis Sabonis and Victor Oladipo for Paul George, and those picks and that capital ends up being Tyrese Halliburton.
Mhm.
It's just an amazing turn of events. Shout out to Sam Presti, one of the best GMs that we've had in the NBA ever. I really respect how he built this from the ground up, man. Picks on picks on picks for this draft, the next draft, up until 2031, man.
Yeah,
But
Oklahoma City's got 4 picks in this year's draft. Just to think the fact that a team in the finals right now has 4 picks in this year's draft.
and they almost got a top 6 pick if Philly
Yep,
didn't work
crazy.
out. I mean, absolutely amazing season by them. What a turn of events right here that we have. But I got a couple more questions for you before you get into our finals preview, man. I don't wanna make this a complete interview, but definitely I had some things for you on the pod that I had from the last one. I'm just gonna bring it to this one. You're not a big TNT fan. What are your thoughts on the show finally ending, Crody? Talk to me.
I mean, I will say, of course, our entire childhood of growing up and watching the NBA on TNT has been front and center. Shaq, Ernie, Chuck, and Kenny have really, I feel like, shaped our childhood. But I think over the last 4 to 5 years, I've really fallen off with Shaq. I think Shaq is a
Agreed.
good human at heart, and I've noticed that. I've met Shaq. I've interviewed Shaq. I know that Shaq is a good person at heart, but I think he's the biggest catalyst with his platform with NBA on TNT prior to it shutting down, as to the negativity surrounding the NBA as a whole, right? The lack of awareness to study the game, to know players that are not just superstar players, and to constantly dog players for no apparent reason outside of jealousy, outside of being envious, whether that's money or accolades, anything like that. He was the epitome of negativity in the NBA media with such a big platform, and that kind of sprinkled down into a bunch of other NBA analysts and media members and even content creators. So I'm going to miss the NBA on TNT. I understand that eventually it just kind of turned into a humorous joke show. It really wasn't meant to be taken as seriously as it once was. But I blame Shaq really for the downfall of all of that. But otherwise, I guess it'll be missed to a certain extent.
I couldn't have put it any more perfect than you just did. Shaq and even Charles at times, man.
Yeah.
It's an NBA where social media and the media is they have a big voice into what is being put out. So in terms of like the negativity, we're getting so much negativity on Instagram already, TikTok, and just comment sections alone. So much negativity and casualness for our goats, like guys that we look. This is Shaquille O'Neal, 3-time champ, or three-peat champ, Charles
Mhm.
Barkley, MVP of the league. For these guys to be such casuals and to hate the way that they do in the game, it's just not good for the game. Just
Mhm.
look at the NFL. All those guys, Terry Bradshaw, Michael Irvin, all the vets of NFL and the guys who talk on these talk shows, they all love Patrick Mahomes. They
Mhm.
all give these guys, young guys, respect. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, everyone they respect. They want to see the young guys take over the next generation. NBA is the complete opposite in
Mhm.
comparison. Like guys are still talking about Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and Mike Johnson. Like it's a new era, man. We have to move on and just push a better narrative, man. Like them shitting on the All-Star game didn't help at all. The fans already did not like the new format. They already didn't like what was going on. It would have been good for the guys to be like, hey, man, this is what we got. Thanks to Adam Silver for trying something new after that abysmal game we had last season. Let's just make the best of it. But that they did the complete opposite.
Right.
So I absolutely understand where you're coming from in terms of them just being too negative at times and them just being casuals. They can't even say guys' names right. It
Right,
took
and
them.
that's the biggest thing with it, and like Shaq is the biggest reason for it, and that's not to say that others aren't accountable, but when Shaq is in the limelight, obviously one of the biggest faces in NBA history, and obviously one of the biggest faces now in NBA media, like I understand voicing your opinion and having pushback and scrutiny and holding people accountable. That's fine, but when you make your whole motto just being jealous, being envious, shitting on guys, or like being the guy who just is trying to crack a joke even though it's completely disrespectful, especially when you keep
Yeah.
attacking the same person over and over and over and over again, and then when they finally call you out on it, you want to act like you're defenseless. Dwight Howard, Rudy Gobert, etc. There's so many players he just constantly shits on for no reason, right? And like I said, I do think it's just an envious thing. So I will miss NBA on TNT for the fact that, it was a big part of our childhood and the big fact of, you would think about it when you watch the NBA. But man, like I'm so tired of seeing Shaq and some of those media members just constantly shitting on the game. So that's what I got to say about it.
Yeah, man, big. And like I said, I completely agree, man. We will miss the game. Chuck is, in my opinion, the best TV personality. Chuck is absolutely hilarious. I love
Mm-hmm.
watching Charles Barkley Tuesdays and Thursdays. Makes me laugh all the time, man. Shout out to Ernie Johnson, the greatest mediator in the history of sports.
Mm-hmm.
He's just there for the vibes, man. Shout out to
He
Kenny
is.
as well. Kenny the Jet Smith. He is the most analytical vet on there, or out of all of the legends. Kenny actually knows ball. Kenny knows names,
Yes.
gets up there on the big board, drawing out the plays, running a pin down, he'll call it out. I respect Kenny and what he brought
Yeah.
to the game. He was the most serious one on there, for being honest.
100%.
But gonna miss that show, man. Hopefully ESPN will do this show justice, man. I hope they don't water it down, because that's what ESPN does to every show, man. They water down First Take over the year, just not as
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know the word for it. First Take is just not the same. We all know it. It's
No,
just
of
not
course
the same.
not.
And they did Pat McAfee show justice when Pat McAfee didn't make the move to ESPN. He still has the same pull as he did on YouTube. Still wild, talking crazy, doing his thing with the tank top. Everybody still loves Pat. So I hope they give inside the NBA the same exact leeway. That's the only way it'll work. They will drive everybody away and they try to ESPN this shit up. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You watch an ESPN halftime show, it's completely different from a TNT halftime show. Those guys,
100%.
Perk has 30 seconds. Bob Myers has 30 seconds. Stephen A has a minute. Malik has 30. It's not long enough. Those guys on TNT, that show's supposed to be over at 1 a.m. That shit goes on till 1:25, 1:30 at times. You got to just let those guys cook. Even if they're not talking about anything, it's funny. Just let those
100%.
guys cook. ESPN has to let them be them for this to work. But I definitely wanted to just talk about that real quick, because the Knicks Pacers game, that was the final show. That was the final NBA game on TNT. For the foreseeable future, they will be with NBC for a while, I think, in this new rights deal. But yeah, man, shout out to those guys onto something new, man. But before we get into the series, let's talk about Knicks Pacers game 6. What are your thoughts on that game, man? And Siakam winning the Conference Finals MVP, man. I did not agree.
It's hard for me to say that I don't agree or I disagree, because I actually do agree with the result. It's nothing to take away from Tyrese Halliburton. Great player.
Elite. You're right. He was
right.
Elite.
Great respect in his own right. Tyrese Halliburton has been phenomenal throughout this postseason. But what Siakam did, I think he actually tied the Pacers playoff record for most 30-point games in a conference finals. With 3 30-point games, just absolutely took over the series. And that's what they traded for him for last season, if I'm not mistaken. Was it last season?
Last season, yep.
Yeah, last season. And same thing again. They make small, methodical moves to bring the right guys in around Tyrese Halliburton. I'm completely okay with Pascal Siakam getting Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Just another thing to add to his resume. I believe he's been All-NBA before. Obviously, was a champ back in 2019 with the Raptors. He's been a multi-time All-Star. He's putting forth a very good resume.
Hall of Fame career on the way.
I don't think Hall of Fame. I think Hall of very good. Let's pump the brakes.
So,
he's Hall of very good. He's Hall of very good.
So if Siakam, say he has a good finals right here, and not even win the championship, he has a good finals, and there's a conversation. 2-time All-NBA.
I think even if he wins,
All-Star.
I think even if he wins the finals, I think it's a conversation. I don't think that Pascal Siakam is just gonna win finals MVP or potentially win a ring, and then he's like, okay, this guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think so.
No, I'm not saying first ballot, but he's making the case. He's making the case.
There's a conversation even if he plays well in the finals. I just don't think that Pascal Siakam is a Hall of Fame player as of right now, right? Okay. Maybe 5-6 more years of good high-level basketball, sure, we can have a conversation. But I think he's Hall of very good, right? Mike Conley, Hall of very good. A lot of these guys who have been around the league, I know Pascal's more accomplished than Conley, but I would throw him in that same relative conversation, but I'll give respect where it's due. Pascal's a great player. I'm not hating.
Yeah, absolutely. I can agree with that. He's Hall of very good for now.
For now.
We can sit on that. But the reason I think Halliburton should have won this award, man. I think I'm looking for the whole playoffs. Even though it's a conference finals award, I I think my mind is looking towards the whole playoffs. They're here right now because of Tyrese. But this series specifically, Siakam did have the 39-point game, an
Mhm.
extremely efficient series. Like he shot 50% from three and 50% from field goal. Like absolutely insane efficiency from Siakam. But Tyrese Halliburton, the perfect game 5 or game 4, we had 32, 12, and 15. No
Correct.
turnovers. The game 1, one of the best shots I've ever seen in my life. The high bounce goes in,
Mhm.
forces overtime, does the choke. Just iconic moments in this series from to me by Tyrese Halliburton. He had a great series. He averaged more points, rebounds, and assists than Siakam, but Siakam was a lot more efficient. Tyrese had,
Correct.
I think, 2 to 3 stinkers in this series.
He had, and that's what I was just about to
Yeah,
bring that up. Those
he
four
had some
point and 6 point
stinkers.
games just absolutely collapsed any kind of argument you would have made for it.
Yes, that is why I understand why Siakam won. I'm not shitting on Siakam
Mhm.
whatsoever. Just I think the moments that Tyrese had should have won him this award, but I think the NBA got it right. I personally I just don't agree with the award. But what a series, man. I did not expect the series to be over in 6. I had Pacers in 7. I said it here on the pod.
Mhm.
I just think that the Pacers are just too deep for the Knicks. And the Knicks, they only played 8, 9 guys. Tibbs tried new things late, but it was too little too late. You already dropped the first 2. They were in a hole from then on out. How do you think the Knicks could have made this a more competitive series, even though it was pretty competitive?
Yeah, I mean, it was a competitive series. I think I liked the switch to put Mitch into the starting lineup and bring Hart off the bench. I actually think if they kind of would have rolled with that the entire series, I actually think they would have had a much better shot. Just having that big body in there for those first 8, 9 minutes, just having that extra physicality, especially on the glass, because we know that Karl Anthony Towns can't defend a pick and roll to save his life.
Wow.
Even with everything that he gives you offensively, of course, you can't take him off the floor. But Mitchell Robinson's just presence and just that length, on the inside, I think would just be extremely beneficial. But it's kind of hard to say that because, through the first 2 games, they looked fine, right? I know obviously game 1 was an absolute heartbreaker, right? But that's just the reality of the situation. You make adjustments as the series goes on, and that's what good coaches do. Unfortunately, Indiana just has more guys that can get up, in transition a lot quicker. That's obviously their philosophy. And, I think New York just needed to be more physical. I watched that game 6, and I don't want to say that they gave up, but it felt like every single time Indiana wanted a 3-pointer, whether that was in the half court, spraying it out to 3-point shooters from, driving and just kicking it out, or just pull up transition. The Knicks weren't even trying to guard the 3-point line. They gave TJ McConnell open looks. They gave Thomas Bryant and others open looks. And I get it. You live by the 3, you die by the 3, but you need to have more of a concerned effort level, especially with a team that can get hot and streaky like we saw from Indiana. So, there's a lot of issues that the Knicks had in the series. I don't think that they necessarily got outplayed the entire series because if that game 1 collapse didn't happen, we're talking about a game 7 potentially.
Absolutely.
So, coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's kind of hard to predict those things, but I think overall, still a very good series.
Yeah, man, I agree with everything you said, man. They should have ran out that Mitchell Robinson lineup way sooner. He is
Mhm.
one of the most dominant offensive rebounders I've ever seen personally, and the numbers prove it. I
Him
mean,
and
he was
Andre Drummond, yeah.
killing Miles Turner and Steven Adams, killing Miles Turner in this series. I mean, he
Not
was
Steven
averaging
Adams.
what as an offensive rebounder?
Oh, you just mean okay. I
Yeah, yeah,
thought you
yeah.
just meant like it. I'm like Steven Adams isn't playing in the series. I
No,
got
no,
you.
no, no, no. In terms
Yeah,
of
yeah,
like dominant offensive rebounders, it's
correct.
Drummond, Mitch Robinson, and Steven Adams. Man, I mean, Miles Turner couldn't hold him at all.
Hmm.
When those minutes, that's what they tried Tony Bradley. They tried Thomas Bryant because Miles just could not hang with Mitch Robinson. And I like what Josh Hart brings off the bench. A lot of
Correct.
hustle, a lot of heart, no pun intended. But I absolutely think the Knicks lay down, man. I agree with you. They gave
They
up.
laid down in game
After I
6.
saw Brunson do the headbutt on Nemhard, that's a sign of they lost it a little bit because
Yeah.
you could have got ejected on that stupid move. Like why would you even risk that? You had to have given up at that point. I mean, Nemhard was absolutely torturing Brunson that last game. I couldn't believe he played Brunson that well. Historically, he's not been a very good defender on Brunson, which is the reason Neesmith was on him. But Neesmith was battling an ankle injury, was not 100%. They rolled the dice with on Nemhard, and he absolutely did his thing. He held
Shout
up.
out to the Gators, man.
Yeah, man.
Gator boys stay hot.
Had a good offensive game as well after not having a very good series. But I think Cat in drop coverage gotta be one of the worst defenders I've ever seen.
Ennis Canner, man. Ennis Canner, but with a way better offensive game. With a jumper. Ennis Canner with a jumper.
Just defensive lapses, guys. When they do the switch, Cat has 2 feet in the
He's a liability.
And the guy is setting his feet, dribbling the ball, ready to get his shot off. Cat, what are you doing? Like, he's one of the worst defenders I've ever seen in drop coverage and in switch coverage ever. Like, I'm not even exaggerating, y'all. It's that bad.
And that's why I laugh real quick. And just to that point, that's why I laugh when I hear Timberwolves fans or just casual fans, not many Timberwolves fans, make fun of Gobert and say, oh, we got to trade this guy, or, oh, he's an inefficient offensive player. He's not productive, all of those things, which is not the case, by the way. But because he is so valuable defensively as an anchor to any defensive unit, that people don't realize just how valuable he is, because the moment you take him off the floor, you see just how bad your defense really is, or you see just how bad your team is. If you put Gobert on the Knicks, just as an anchor, right? Do you know how much better that defense would look? And you could apply to any team, but people don't really value how good defensive centers are when they're elite, and then you miss them when you don't have them anymore, because then you see a noticeable discrepancy. So I just want to point that out. Even despite the lack of offensive output from maybe a guy like Gobert, maybe the lack of defensive intensity you get from a Karl Anthony Towns, you give and you take.
Agreed, man. Agreed. I couldn't put any better than that. That's literally a give and take situation, man. But let's get into this final series. Finally, we got the OKC Thunder versus Indiana Pacers, like we talked about earlier. Both have never won a championship. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, man, can be the first to ever pull it off the Triple Crown. MVP, Conference Finals MVP, and Finals MVP. A lot at stake here for them. Who do you have to have a big impact in this series? I don't want any prediction yet. Who do you think is just going to have a big impact in this series?
We talking role players?
Role players, star players. Who has to have the big impact for this series to swing?
Well, I think it has to be Tyrese Halliburton, right? I think he has to absolutely play his best. He has to prove why he's a 2-time All-NBA, multiple-time All-Star, and gold medalist, right? He has to prove why he didn't win Conference Finals MVP and show the world why he's not the most overrated player in the NBA, according to his peers. It's easy to say that the star player on a team needs to play his best, but this team goes as Tyrese Halliburton goes. Even if he puts out a dud, like we saw in those 2 performances in the Conference Finals, you simply can't have that against an elite defensive team in the Oklahoma City Thunder. So Halliburton needs to do a good job of not only scoring, but continuously getting guys involved and, really making his mark out there. Because if he does not have the best series, I understand it's his first finals, just like SGA, but if he does not have a good series in general, he is going to never hear the end of it, especially this offseason. He's going to be ridiculed all offseason. So for his sake and just the Pacers, even if they don't come out on top, he has to play well. Plain and simple. It has to be Halliburton.
Agreed, man. So the team that creates the most turnovers in the league, OKC Thunder, versus the team who commits the least turnovers in the league, Indiana Pacers, spearheaded by Tyrese Halliburton, a guy who he doesn't turn the ball over. It's so insane. He's literally Steve Nash 2.0. Just dishes out assists, does not turn the ball over, point God. But this is a different series. I saw the way that the Knicks played him. OKC is not going to play like that on defense. All of those, Tyrese Halliburton doesn't really have a bag. You can agree with me, right? Before I make my point.
He doesn't have a bag.
He does not have a bag.
He does enough just to create separation, right, coming off the picks. But if you put him really in ISO situations and having a bag, asking him to work one-on-one, that's not really his game.
It can look nasty. He can do that against a big in a switch, but against Dort,
the elite guards,
a Cason Wallace, a Caruso, they will have this man in hell in this series. The Pacers have to run pick and roll, motion after motion. There's no ISO ball in this series. Like in the last series, how we saw if a play broke down, Tyrese was able to just ISO Brunson, get to the rim, get an easy layup. ISO Mitch Robinson off the switch, get a step back 3 with space, or on Cat. A lot of defensive liabilities on the Knicks. There is no defensive liabilities on this team, guys. You get Chet Holmgren out there in space, he's gonna be there. You switch SGA, who's kind of the weak link on defense, he can guard anybody
He
on the
can.
Pacers as well. I think Halliburton has to have a great series, like you said, but I can see a series where he just does not able to get into his stuff, man. The Pacers are fast, like you said. They are one of the highest paced teams in the league. You hear that?
Yeah, it's good.
Sorry about that, y'all. But one of the highest paced teams in the league, high paced player. If Tyrese is not able to get other guys involved, come on, no way. If Tyrese Halliburton is not able to push pace and get teammates involved, I don't see him being the guy that can get them out of this series. Like how
No.
Siakam, when the play breaks down for the Pacers, you can just give the ball to Siakam in the post, get you a bucket or
Hmm.
two. It's not going to be the case for Halliburton, man. How we saw in that last series where he puts up 11 points in a row in the fourth because he's breaking down the Knicks defense, he's getting to the rim.
It's not happening against
It's not
OKC.
happening, man. It's not happening. It's like he has to be flawless in this series. So I really agree
Correct.
with you. That was my impact player as well of the series.
Yeah.
That you said. I agree, man. Halliburton has to
Yeah.
be damn near perfect. He has to have a
He
flawless
has to
series.
be perfect in this. Yeah, and the thing is, he might still get the assist. He still might facilitate at a high clip, but I really don't see him even scoring. I don't think he even sniffs a 20-point game in this series. Like, I'm so serious. Even as high scoring as Indiana is, as well as they push the ball in transition and just get out in the open floor and do that, I just don't see a scenario where Tyrese is consistently getting downhill with Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein and just those other guards on the perimeter who can switch 1 through 3. I don't see it. Halliburton's going to have definitely a game where he really has a good performance, like overall on the stat sheet, but I don't think he even drops a 20 bomb in this series. He's going to have to do other things and all the dirty work in order to give Indiana any kind of chance.
Agreed, man. Agreed. So quickly, I want to get. I don't know if this is meaningless, but they did play March 29th not too long ago. Um, Before I even get into the stats, no Aaron Wiggins, no Chet, and no Jalen Williams. Not J Dub, J Will.
Okay.
And then for the Indiana Pacers, no Ben Mathurin. Like I said, no Aaron Wiggins, no Chet, no J Will. OKC wins 132-111. And SGA absolutely cut this team up. 33-7-8. J Dub had 18. Dort had 22. And the Pacers were locked down in this game, guys. They had 20 team turnovers in this one. Halliburton, Siakam, under 20 points, like Brett said. The guys were nowhere near 20. If the Thunder is coming like this every game, this will be over in 5, in my opinion, 5 or 6. I really respect the Pacers. They can go in to any arena and just play good. They're a good road team, great home team like we see. They can go in and steal some, but they got to be good, man. They have to be flawless. I mean, I want to rewatch this game just to get a full consensus of what went down and why the Pacers got beat so bad. And it can't just be turnovers; it had to be some missed shots, all that involved. But Isaiah Joe had a big game in this one. Kenrich Williams had 10 off the bench. OKC's role players is another factor in this series, guys. If the role players are coming with it, they are some of the most intense defensive role players that we have in the whole NBA. You got Kenrich Williams, who Shaq didn't even know his name the other day when he was talking about him.
Crazy.
You saw that, right?
It was such a casual.
Pretty embarrassing moment right there. But Kenrich Williams, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, who did not see a lot of playtime in that Minnesota series. I expect them to see him unlocked in this series. I really love the role players compared to the Pacers role players. How do you feel the role players play a factor in this series?
I'd say it's honestly pretty evenly matched just in terms of the depth of the role players. Like, I do trust guys like TJ McConnell and Andrew Nembhard and just a handful of other, and Mathurin too, right? Like, I trust Indiana's role players. I actually trust Rick Carlisle more in this situation, just as the more experienced, proven coach. It's nothing against Mark Dagnall, but having said that, I lean into championships, right? And I lean into a defensive-minded team really imposing their will night in and night out. And that's not to say that Indiana can't hang with them. I do think Indiana's still going to get their buckets, but I just don't see how Indiana is going to be able to keep up with that physicality for 6-7 games, right? They're going to be competitive. They're going to get their buckets, but I really feel like the depth of both of these teams is relatively even matched in terms of their, 7, 8 guys going deep into the rotation. So, I think that'll be a great part to watch about this series. Just the fact that it's not just the superstars. You've got other guys that are going to continue to
Oh yeah,
contribute. And yeah, I'm excited for that aspect of it.
a lot of Canadian ties in this series. You realize that? A
Yeah.
lot of Canadians. Dort, SGA,
Mm-hmm.
Nemhard, Mathurin. So
A lot of them.
guys that play each other a lot over the summer, hang a lot over the summer. It could be some competitive juice there. But final thing on this series, man. What is your series prediction? Talk to me. Final series
Yeah.
prediction. I want the games and outcome.
Yeah, I had originally Thunder in 5, and I think kind of as the days kind of progress, I was like, I'll give the Pacers one more. I'll call it Thunder in 6. I'd like to see this series at least go one more game than just a 5-game, gentleman sweep. I don't think Indiana gets a game on the road. I think they'll take Game 3 at home. I think OKC bounces back with Game 4, and then Game 5, everything's on the line. Indiana pulls out a close one, and then OKC wins it on the road, like we saw in 2022. Steph Curry wins it on the road in Boston. I think SGA wins it in Indiana, wins Finals MVP, gets the Triple Crown, and OKC has something to celebrate, getting their first ring in championship history, in franchise history. Their first championship in franchise history. Yeah,
absolutely. I know what you meant, but I will say I have Thunder in 5 as well.
okay.
And I don't know if you noticed, the Pacers have lost every Game 3 in this playoffs.
Yep,
Lost
I
Game
noticed
3.
that.
They lost every single Game 3. So if they don't win the first 2, it's over.
They're not winning. They're not
It's
winning.
over.
They're not winning any on the road.
They don't
in
win
OKC.
any road game.
Nope.
I'm just
Well, no,
going
I
off
think they win Game 5. I think that they'll win Game 5 with everything to play for.
Right.
Because
Yes.
OKC is like, we're going to want to win it at home. We're up 3-1.
Exactly.
Pressure's tight. You know what I'm saying? Like, pressure makes diamonds. And I think Indiana squeezed that one out. And then everyone's like, oh, Indiana's going to go home Game 6, because this is going to be a series. And then OKC mops them Game 6.
Yeah, by 27.
Yeah, so that's what I think.
But yeah, man, I'm going to stick to my Thunder in 5 as much as I respect the Pacers. And I respect Rick Carlisle as a elite coach. He's done it now with 2 underdog teams. 2011 Mavs underdog team, 2025 Pacers underdog team. He's done it twice now, so it's not a fluke. I respect him. I think he is the better coach.
He's the better
just
coach
going,
right now.
Just going team for team, man. This OKC team, one of the best home teams ever, historically. You see how many games? They won 80-plus games, including the playoffs this season. I think they're going to handle business, man. They're going to go in here with a fire lit up their ass. They want to close out. They want it for SGA. He's going to go out there, get the Finals MVP to end off the Triple Crown, end off one of the greatest individual seasons that we've ever seen. Scoring champion, Triple Crown, championship. I think OKC does it in 5, man. I really respect the Pacers, though. If it goes 6, I won't be surprised at all. Y'all won't hear me saying, "Oh, I don't know how it went 6." I will not be surprised. This team is the best offense for a reason. Best offense in the playoffs, best offense in the East. They are the best offense. So, with that being said, I'm gonna stick with OKC in 5. And I don't know, man. I kind of have a take I want to get off real quick.
Yeah.
As much as I respect SGA, and as much as I respect the OKC team and how good they are, I'm going to sound like a casual. I think I'm going to back up. I don't want to sound like a casual.
Well, I got a take for you, but I don't think it's a hot take, but you got to say yours though. Go ahead.
I don't want to sweep, and then I'm going to say I wish that I wouldn't. I would rather see the Knicks. I would have rather seen the Knicks, but I don't want it to be a situation where Indiana gets here, right? They have the best team or offense and all that stuff, and they get here and they just get beat down because the East is weak. The East was definitely they went through a gauntlet over there. OKC, they went Denver 7, went Timberwolves. I just don't want it to be a series where, OKC played a hurt Bucks team. Dame went down. They played a hurt Cavs team. Their guys went down. Knicks, kind of no excuse. They were healthy. I just don't want it to be a sweep. And then the casuals, and even myself, I would say, man, I wish that there was another team. I just don't want it to be a situation like that. I really hope that this series is competitive for the NBA's sake, because the fans are gonna feed off of the negativity in this series. If it's a 4-game series and OKC's whooping their ass every game, we're not gonna hear the end of it. And I like you. We said both at the top of the pod. We want to see small market teams shine. Like this is what the league deserves. This is what the teams deserve. They built these teams organically, but it got to be competitive on the basketball standpoint. And I'm afraid that we could have a scenario where we don't get that. I didn't want to sound
Yeah,
like a casual saying that, but that's also in play.
no, I think it's a fair point. I don't think that, you're speaking out the side of your mouth when you say that. I think that's a very realistic point to look at. I think it's far more plausible that OKC whoops that ass for 4 games in a sweep than this series gets extended 7 games. Like, that's just the truth. I think that the East is weak. I acknowledge that the East is weak. And, I think when looking at the potential matchup of who would have been the best matchup in the finals, right, in the Eastern Conference to go ahead and play the Thunder, I think it would have been the Cavs. I'm so serious. I think a healthy Cavs team, I know they obviously weren't able to, get out of even the semifinals, but I think the Cavaliers, if Donovan Mitchell had stayed healthy, didn't have that ankle injury, and they didn't fall apart, I actually think that they would have given OKC a much better matchup in the finals than what Indiana will give them. And I'm not trying to hate on Indiana. Like, I really think that they're a great team, and I think that they deserve this. Cleveland's a small market team also. I know they've had success because of LeBron, but let's not act like Mobley.
Cleveland, man.
Right.
On, yeah.
But let's not act like Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Max Strus, and Jarrett Allen would not match up well with what OKC presents, especially with their length. Superstar matchups, Donovan Mitchell and SGA, right? It's not like Donovan Mitchell's not a playoff riser. He's one of the greatest playoff risers we've ever seen. So, ever seen, right? So this is not an indictment on Indiana. I just think that if I was assuming health and I was projecting what would the best potential matchup be, I think it would have been Cleveland. And the only reason I really say that too is because I think that Knicks team was going to beat the Celtics, even if Jason Tatum didn't tear his Achilles, right? Because the way that series was trending and the way that New York just had a renewed sense of confidence in that series, it didn't look like Boston was going to win that series, even if JT had stayed healthy. So that's the only reason I won't say Boston in that sense. But, I think it's still going to be a good finals. I hope it's not a bunch of blowouts. Hopefully there is no blowouts and every game is a good game.
Same, bro.
But, even if it ends up being a sweep or a gentleman's sweep, just let every game be rather competitive. I don't want to see a blowout in the fourth quarter. And, I'm going to stick with Thunder in 6. That's going to be my final prediction. And, I think SGA wins finals MVP on Indiana's court.
Yeah, man. Agreed. You said everything I agree with. Very well spoken, man. Thank you. I think we're going to wrap up the pod. We're almost at 45 minutes. I held my guy for too long. And I really enjoyed this, man. Very, very blessed. Thankful to have you on, man. I know we've both been busy as hell. I just recently moved. You've been working like a madman, working multiple jobs, Publix, FanSided, Magic.
Yes,
you haven't had a break.
No.
So I'm finally be able to catch you. You had some downtime, able to tap in with me. But you guys follow my boy on Instagram. What's your Instagram? Brett James, right?
At the Brett James.
The Brett James. Y'all follow him. His reels are amazing. Like quality, what he's talking about. This guy knows his stuff, man. Tap in
and
with
you can
him.
see the morning routines, got to keep me locked in.
Better than Ashton Hall, y'all. Ashton Hall is not fucking with my boy. So I just want to get that out there as well. But thank you for joining the pod, Brett. I really hope I have you on more over the summer. I would definitely see you, pull up on you, hang out, shoot some hoop. We got to shoot some hoop, man.
Definitely.
I got to cross you up for one time, y'all.
Yeah, that's cap. But I got a court right around the corner from me, man. So we'll definitely go hoop, man.
But yeah, man, I really appreciate everybody listening to the pod. For my weekly listeners, thank you as always for tapping in with me. I hope y'all have a great weekend. Y'all watch the finals this Thursday, game 1 on ABC. I hope that y'all enjoy this series as much as me and Brett are. Hope we don't get any blowouts. Hope it's just competitive and we get some good basketball, man. But as the NBA season comes down, y'all, I will taking a little break. I will get into my interview bag. We'll have a lot of guests on the pod sooner or later. But with that being said, y'all, thank y'all for listening to another episode of More to the Story. Thank you again to Brett for joining me. Y'all have a great weekend, man. Let's get it.